I'm so close to rebuilding this $6 million Bugatti Chiron Persport.
Something happened in Matt Armstrong's workshop this week that most people watching his latest video completely missed. A moment that lasted maybe 90 seconds on screen, buried between the carbon fiber, the drilling, and the helicopter crate reveals. Most viewers skipped right past it without realizing what they were watching. I didn't. And once I understood what it meant, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Because what Matt Armstrong accidentally discovered in those 90 seconds isn't just a quirk of the Chiron's electrical system. It's a design secret Bugatti has kept hidden since the Chiron was first unveiled, one that has cost owners hundreds of thousands of pounds in unnecessary dealer visits. And now that it's public, it changes the game for every independent mechanic who's ever dreamed of touching a hypercar. I'm going to tell you exactly what Matt found, explain why it stayed hidden for so long, and show you how this accidental discovery pulled back another layer of Bugatti's carefully guarded repair monopoly. But you need the context first, because the moment everything clicked will only hit you with its full force if you've walked the same path of confusion Matt walked. So let's start at the beginning. The Chiron Persport rebuild was entering its final, most delicate phase. The body panels had arrived, the wide-body kit was being test-fitted, one carbon fiber piece at a time. The rear quarter panels had been physically cut to make room for the massive arch extensions. The front end was going together, and then Matt hit a snag. He couldn't install the front bodywork without headlights, and the headlights he had were wrecked. The original Persport headlights had been damaged in the crash that wrote the car off. They still technically worked, but they were cracked, scarred, and nowhere near good enough for a build meant to be the finest independent Chiron in the world. Matt needed new ones. But Bugatti had already made its position clear. No parts for this car, no panels, no electronics, no headlights. The factory had drawn a line, and the Chiron's lighting system sat on the wrong side of it. So Matt did what Matt always does, he found another way. A contact in Europe. An anonymous seller who couldn't be filmed or named. A private jet flight, hours across the continent, with barely an hour on the ground to land, meet the contact, collect the headlights, and get back to the plane before it left without him. It played out like a spy thriller. Matt landed, grabbed the headlights, and handed over 10,000 euros, a fraction of the 50,000 Bugatti had quoted, and nowhere near the 150,000 some resellers were asking. The headlights were secured. The mission worked. But there was a catch. The seller wouldn't say where they'd come from. Matt had no idea if they were stolen, salvaged, or quietly diverted from a dealer's parts bin. All he knew was that they were genuine, and they were his only option. The headlights arrived in Miami. Matt unboxed them carefully, they looked flawless, and plugged them into the Chiron's wiring harness. This was the moment of truth. Would the car even recognize them, or would some hidden handshake between the headlight module and the ECU refuse to authorize anything without Bugatti's own diagnostic tool? At first, it looked promising. The main beams worked. The high beams worked. The indicators flashed. The car was road legal. But the one thing that actually makes a Chiron look like a Chiron from down the street, the 4 square LED daytime running lights that frame each headlight, stayed dark. Not with the ignition on. Not with the engine running. Not with any combination of settings Matt tried. He checked the fuses. He checked the wiring. He checked the coding. Nothing worked. So he turned to the control modules, the small electronic units mounted beneath each headlight that managed the LED sequencing. Matt still had Alex's original, crash-damaged headlights, modules intact, so he swapped the modules from the new lights with the ones from the old. It was the obvious move, the kind any competent mechanic would try first. He reconnected everything, turned the key, and the daytime running lights stayed dark. By now the frustration was real. Matt had flown across Europe, spent 10,000 euros, and burned hours pulling components apart and putting them back together, all to fix the one detail that mattered most cosmetically, and it still wasn't working. The car was legal to drive, but it didn't look finished. It looked wrong. That's the moment the story turns. That's the moment most viewers scrolled right past. Matt looked around the workshop and his eyes landed on 2 small modules sitting on a bench, the rear quarter modules, pulled out days earlier when the rear panels were cut to fit the wide-body arches. They'd been sitting there, unplugged, with nothing to do with the front of the car. Every wiring diagram, every repair manual, every scrap of conventional logic says rear quarter modules handle rear functions. Tail lights, brake lights, rear indicators, maybe a parking sensor. There is no obvious reason a rear module should have anything to do with front daytime running lights. Matt plugged them back in anyway. The daytime running lights came on instantly. The front daytime running lights on a Bugatti Chiron won't activate unless the rear quarter modules are connected. A component at the back of the car, controlling functions at the back of the car, turns out to be a required link in the circuit that lights up the front. There's no physical wiring reason for it. It's a dependency buried deep in the car's software architecture, the kind no independent mechanic would ever think to check. Matt's reaction, caught on camera, was somewhere between relief and disbelief. He laughed it off, joking that of course the rear modules had to be plugged in for something up front to work, then added, half serious, that it was almost evil. He meant it as a throwaway line, but there's truth in it. A dependency this obscure isn't an oversight. It's a design choice that makes the car as hard as possible to diagnose outside the factory network. Think about what would have happened if Matt hadn't stumbled onto this by accident. He'd have spent days chasing a fault that doesn't exist where any sane technician would look. He'd have suspected the headlights themselves, or the body control module, and thrown more money at parts and diagnostics that wouldn't have fixed anything, because the actual problem lived in a software dependency that only Bugatti's internal documentation records. Eventually he'd have done exactly what the system is built to make him do, called the dealer, booked the car in, paid a steep diagnostic fee, and watched a technician plug in the factory tool, run a 2-minute scan, and casually mention the rear modules were unplugged. That knowledge, trivial once you have it, is treated as a trade secret. It isn't shared with owners. It isn't shared with independent shops. It's a revenue stream. That's the secret Matt accidentally exposed. Bugatti's electrical architecture isn't just complicated, it's built to be opaque. Functions are scattered across unrelated modules in ways that defy intuition. A front light tied to a rear module, a brake circuit tied to a steering sensor, a window tied to a seat occupancy switch. The car is a maze of interdependencies, and the only people holding the map charge several £100 an hour for the privilege of using it. Now every independent mechanic who's watched Matt's video knows something they didn't before. Dead daytime running lights on a Chiron? Check the rear quarter modules first. 10 seconds, no cost, and it could save a week of chasing ghosts. That one piece of knowledge, given away for free on YouTube, is worth more than any official manual, because it's exactly the kind of thing manufacturers spend years keeping locked away. This isn't unique to Bugatti. Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren. Most hypercar makers build electrical systems with undocumented dependencies for the same reason. Frustrated owners eventually give up and go back to the dealer. The complexity isn't incidental. It's the business model. And every time someone documents a hidden dependency publicly, that model takes a small hit. There's a legal angle here too. The EU's Right to Repair Directive, taking full effect on July 31, 2026, will require manufacturers to give independent operators the same repair information available to authorized dealers. Wiring diagrams, diagnostic procedures, module dependency maps included. A rear module silently gating a front headlight circuit is precisely the kind of detail that law is meant to force into the open. Bugatti may have been counting on nobody noticing before the deadline. Matt noticed first, and now there's public footage of exactly the kind of information manufacturers have been sitting on. There's also something worth noting about how Matt handled it. He's not a factory-trained technician or an automotive engineer. He's self-taught, and he documents his failures as openly as his wins. He could have cut the confusion out of the video and made himself look like he knew all along. He didn't. He left in the frustration, the wrong turns, the accidental discovery, and in doing so made the case, without saying it outright, that sharing knowledge openly beats hoarding it. That's really what this story is about. Bugatti treats repair information as something to protect. Matt treats it as something to give away. And piece by piece, that's how a repair monopoly erodes, not through one big exposure, but through small discoveries like this one, shared in forums and workshops until the knowledge is common enough that it stops being worth hiding. Matt didn't set out to expose anything. He just wanted his daytime running lights to work. But in solving his own problem on camera, he handed every independent Chiron mechanic a shortcut that used to cost thousands of pounds to learn. The headlights are working now. And so is the information, spreading faster than any dealer network can contain it.